Now. So, and as you said, I need to pin myself. Is that right? Just yeah, I'll pin myself. So I'm now the okay, fine. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to Breakfast and Learn. And I've never done this before on Breakfast and Learn, so it's the first time. Maybe if you like it, it'll be another time, but if not, then it'll be one and only time. What I want to talk about today is something quite topical because when we read on Shabbat, we read the Parashat HaChodesh. It was Shabbat HaChodesh, and it was the first mitzvah given to the Jewish people. I'm just going to 1 second. I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. So where are we? There we go. Can you see that? The Shulsi. Okay, so basically, it's the first mitzvah given to the Jewish people, the mitzvah of setting a calendar, having a calendar by which we can determine our festivals and etc. And just some background to this. If we look at the source sheet, we see there that this is set out in the first source there that God said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, this month, this month should be to you the first of all the months. The first of the months of the year. The month we're talking about is the month of Nisan. So the month of Nisan is the first month in the year, and that based on that, all the rules about setting the Jewish calendar are based on that particular posuk in the Torah, which we read for them after last Shabbat. But the Jewish year, as we know, is quite a peculiar year because it is a mixture of both a lunar and a solar year. So it's based on the months of the year, but also we are also linked to the solar calendar, to the calendar fixed by the sun, because the second source, Deuteronomy, Devarim 16, 1-5, it says, Shamor et Chodesh ha'aviv, you shall keep the festival of the spring and make a Pesach, make a Passover sacrifice. So some of our holidays during the year do have an agricultural or a solar input to them. So Pesach has to be in the spring, and we know that, for example, Sukkot is Chag HaAsif, it's the festival of the ingathering, it's a harvest festival. So Sukkot is also linked to the solar calendar. So they're the two sort of components of our calendars. We have a lunar calendar, and we also are linked to a solar calendar, a calendar based on the sun. Now, the way the calendar used to work is that in the olden days, as we know, the moon, as we know from our science lessons, the moon grows bigger and bigger and bigger over the course of the month till it reaches the full moon in the middle of the month, and then it wanes, it goes smaller and smaller until it disappears at the end of the month. And again, at the beginning of the next month, we have a slight, very small crescent. The moon begins to appear again. And the actual beginning, the appearance of the moon at the beginning of the month is called the molad. The molad is it means the birth. It's the birth of the new moon. And what used to happen in Bible times, in the times when the temple stood, is that witnesses used to spot the new moon, and then they used to go to the Sanhedrin, to the rabbis, and actually say, we've seen the new moon, and they were questioned as to where they saw it, which part of the sky, what shape it was, etc. And if the Sanhedrin were happy that the witnesses were saying the truth and it was a new month, they proclaimed that day the beginning of the new month. And that was Rosh Chodesh. And what they used to do is, as we see their Mishnah Rosh Hashanah sets out, they would then light torches on the mountain tops, going from mountain to mountain, telling the community far and wide that the new month had been set, and that was the beginning of the month. And from that, the communities would know that they would set their festivals accordingly. However, when the Samaritans, when the time when of the second temple after return from Babylon, there was a group of people called the Samaritans who were like a mixed breed of Jews and non-Jews who tried to corrupt some of the Jewish practices at the time. So what they used to do in order to cause a bit of trouble is they used to light torches on the wrong times in order to confuse the Jewish people. So the rabbis then instituted the fact that messengers should go out rather than torches. So messengers were sent to the diaspora, to outside Israel, to tell the communities far and wide that the new month had been established. And the Mishnah Rosh Hashanah there says that, in fact, the messengers went out on 6 months of the year, the main months, the months where there was a specific important festival like Pesach or Rosh Hashanah or Tisha B'Av or what have you. And those are the months they went out to give the report of the new month. However, as we know, because of the fact that it took some time for the messengers to actually reach the outlying communities, there was a problem as to, for example, if the messenger went out at the beginning of Nisan, it may well be they didn't arrive to the far corners of Babylon till after the 15th of Nisan, after Pesach. So the Jewish people didn't know what day the new month was declared and what day Pesach should be observed. So what they used to do is to keep 2 days Pesach, just in case it's either one or the other. And that is the origin of the requirement to have 2 days of the Yom Tovs outside Israel. So there's various other sources here about what they used to do when they used to declare the moon, and about how they used to question the witnesses, etc., which I won't go into now. It's quite interesting what they used to do, but I'm going to go to some other facts about the new month. So I'm going to give you another. Can you see the other screen? Just put your hands up. The Jewish calendar. Can you see that screen? Can someone put a thumbs up if they can see it? Yeah, thumbs down. Okay, you can't see it. Okay, so right. So
You can just see your Safaria. That's all.
oh, right. Okay, so what I need to do is to. Okay, so what do I need to do now? Then I need to stop share and screen share again. Okay, 1 second. Yeah. Can you see that one now? Saying Jewish calendar. Okay, right. These are the notes I put together, basically. So basically, as I mentioned earlier, the first mitzvah given to the Jewish people was Achosh Lachem Rosh Chodeshim, from Parashat Bo, which we read on Shabbat. The Jewish year is a combination of the lunar and solar calendars, and the months of the year are counted from Nisan. So in the Bible, we talk about the first month, the second month, the third month. Everything's based from Nisan. Now, the month is the time it takes the moon to circle the earth, and that's determined by the rabbis and also by astronomers since then. It's 29 days, 12 hours, and 793 halakim. What is a halak? Basically, in Jewish thought, the hour is divided into 1,080 halakim. It's not divided into minutes and seconds, but into 1,080 halakim parts. So it's approximately 44 minutes and 3 1/3 seconds. So that is the length of the Jewish month. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, the new month is determined by the molad, the birth of the new month. And we mentioned there about the witnesses and the second day Yom Tov. So the month basically is 29.5 days. Now, in practice, you can't have a holiday or a Rosh Chodesh starting in the middle of the day. So the rabbis decided that a month should either be 29 days or 30 days. There are 12 months in the Jewish year, so 12 times 29.5 is 354 days. However, the solar year, the year based on the sun, is, as you know, is 365.25 days. So in fact, we are every year there's a lag of 11 days. And if we didn't do anything about this, we would have a problem in that Pesach every year would be 11 days earlier. So it would be April, then it would come up in March, then it would come in February, etc. And it won't be a spring festival, end up being a winter festival. But a bit like Ramadan, which started a couple of days ago. Ramadan is now in April. Next year, Ramadan will be in March. The following year will be in February, because the Muslims don't actually have a solar adjustment like we do. So we have to have an adjustment. And the way we adjust the calendar is we have something called a leap month. The word actually is Shanat HaIbur. It's a leap year, but the word Ibur actually means pregnant. So it's like it's a bigger month anyway. We had a leap month, and this was fixed by the Sanhedrin each year during Adar, based on looking around at the sort of the growth of the arrival of spring. They determined if they needed to add a month. So during Adar, they would announce, we got to have a leap month. So this month would be the first month of Adar, and everything's pushed back to the next month. So Purim will be postponed. Can you imagine something like that today? You know, sort of a couple of days before Purim, you've got your Suda already, you've packed your Mishloach Manot, got your fancy dress, Purim party arranged, and the rabbi says, sorry, this month is not Purim, it's going to be pushed back another month, you know, and everything had put on hold for a month. So that's what used to happen in the times of the temple. And it was every year you didn't know what's going to happen. This all changed because in the year 359 CE of the Common Era, there's a gentleman called Hillel II, and he set the rules for a fixed calendar because there was no longer a Sanhedrin in place. There was no longer a possibility to have witnesses, seeing the new moon and having these additional months set, etc. So he fixed the calendar for all time, and the way it was fixed is that the year would have alternate months, 1 month of 30, 1 month of 29, going through the year, and the 30-day months were the significant months, the months with the major holidays in them. So they were Tishri for the Chagim, Kislev for Hanukkah, Shabbat for Tu B'Shvat, Nisan for Pesach, Sivan for Shavuot, and Av for Tisha B'Av. They were the months with 30 days, and the other months had 29 days. In order to have the cycles of the solar and the lunar year to make them go into sync, as I said, we are 11 days short every year. So they fixed over a 19-year cycle that 7 times in 19 years, there will be an additional month added. And the years in the cycle where those months were added were years 3, 6, 8, 11, 14, 17, and 19. And if you do a bit of maths, over 19 years, there will be 19 years of 354 days, 7 years of an additional 30 days, which comes up to 6936 days over 19 years. And in the solar cycle, there'll be 365 and a quarter times 19, which comes out at 6940, which is roughly the same. And that difference is allowed for in a slight variation in the days, which I'll talk about in a second, but it is allowed for. So in practice, every 19 years, the Jewish and secular dates coincide. So for example, if you were born on the 1st of Nisan, which happened to be the 1st of April, then your 19th, 38th, 57th birthday, etc., your Hebrew and English birthdays would coincide. That is the way it works. Every 19 years, the two calendars coincide. So that basically is that is how the calendar works. Now, it's not as simple as that. In fact, there are what they do each year is they look at the molad. They calculate when the new month, the new moon of Tishri occurs, and from that they fix the day of Rosh Hashanah. However, there are some rules which I just sort of alluded to just before about how those 4 days are made up, because they do adjust them. There's some rules. Firstly, if the molad, if the new moon of Tishri occurs after midday, then the new month is pushed forward another day. In other words, if the new molad Tishri occurred after midday, say on a Wednesday, then Rosh Hashanah doesn't happen on the day, it's pushed forward to the next day, Thursday, and the previous year will have an additional day in it. We'll have an extra day in the month of Cheshvan. That's the first rule. It's called the 18-hour rule. Then we have a rule which a lot of people do know, Lo Adu Rosh, Aleph, Dalad, Vav. Rosh Hashanah cannot fall on Aleph on a Sunday, Dalad on a Wednesday, or Vav on a Friday. Because if Rosh Hashanah falls on a Sunday, it would mean that Hoshana Rabbah would be on a Shabbat, which is impossible because you can't beat the willow. If Rosh Hashanah falls on a Wednesday, Yom Kippur will be on a Friday, and if Rosh Hashanah falls on a Friday, then Yom Kippur will be on a Sunday. So in all these, which again doesn't work because you can't have Yom Kippur on a Friday or Sunday because it'd be too problematic having a fast 2 days with fasting, etc. So that's not do Rosh. The Rosh Hashanah is postponed on those circumstances. There's also a combination of the two. In other words, if the Molad occurs, say, after midday on a Tuesday, Rosh Hashanah should be pushed back to the Wednesday. Can't be on Wednesday, so it's pushed back to the Thursday. It's pushed forward for 2 days. So that's another quirk in the calendar. And there's two other rules there, which I put in English letters because I had to do this in a bit of a rush, so I didn't use my Hebrew font there. But there's a rule called Kat Rud, which means if the Molad occurs on a Tuesday after 11 1/3 minutes after 3 a.m. Don't ask me why, but that's what it says. If it starts then, the Rosh Hashanah has to be postponed to Thursday. And the other one called Batuk Kapad, if the Molad of Tishrei occurs in a regular year following a leap year after 9 hours on a Monday, it's pushed forward to Tuesday. These various rules are set by the rabbis in order to make sure the calendar sort of works smoothly, okay? So these are quite complicated rules. I've honed in on all this because I like maths, you see, and so basically, as an aside, when I was a university student back in the last century, I did a lot of work on computers. And computers was my sort of, and we had to write a project. This is going back to the time when we had computers, big computers, writing programs in Fortran, if those of you may remember that. So I had to write a project. So I chose my project. I wrote a program to actually work out the Jewish calendar. So I learned all these rules and and I wrote a program to work out the Jewish calendar. And then I extended the program to actually convert Jewish days to Hebrew days. So I did a whole project on that. That's why it's my pet subject. That's why I could sort of I could put together this talk very, very quickly this morning. Okay. Another rule to learn about is that once we've come to Adar, the calendar is then fixed until Rosh Hashanah. There's no variation. Every month is 29, 30, 29, 30. So we can work out from Pesach exactly what's happening for the rest of the year. And there's a little guide to help you with that. If we look at the alphabet, the Aleph Bet, if we take Aleph, the first day of Pesach, combine that with Taf, which is the last letter of the alphabet. So the day of the week of the first day of Pesach, Aleph, is the same day of the week as Taf, which is Tisha B'Av. We know that for a fact. It's the same day of the week. Bet, the second day of Pesach, is the same day of the week as Shin, Shavuot. Second day of Pesach, Shavuot, same day of the week. Gimel, the third day of Pesach, is the same as Reish, which is Rosh Hashanah, same day of the week. What do you have after that? We have Dalet, is the same as, what's after that? Is Kuf, which is Kriyat Torah with Simchat Torah. The fourth day of Pesach is the same as Simchat Torah. And so on and so forth. Each day of the alphabet we can work out the calendar from that. You can try that for yourselves. It does work. One other sort of note there. Basically, if you want to work out if a year is a leap year, you divide the year by 19 and look at the remainder. And if the remainder is 3, 6, 8, 11, 14, 17, or 19, it's a leap year. So this year, for example, is 5, 7, 8, 2. You divide it by 19, you get 304, and the remainder is 6. So we are in the 6th year of the 305th cycle, and year 6 is a leap year. So 5782 is a leap year. A couple of other points. Because we can add or subtract a day from the year because of those rules earlier on, a year can have 3 different combinations of dates. It can be 353, 354, or 355 days, and a leap year can be 383, 384, or 385. And Cheshvan and Kislev are the months which can change to either be 29 or 30 days, depending on the combination. And one final thing, if you look at a luach, if you've got one of these sort of Hebrew luachs, you'll see that each year is classified by a 3-letter kaviyah, affixing a 3-letter code to determine the year. And the 3-letter code is made up of the day of the week of Rosh Hashanah, whether the year is a regular one or has 1 day less or 1 day more, and the day of the week of Pesach. And with that code, you can work out the calendar for the year. So this year is a leap year categorized as Gimel, Chaf, Zayin. Gimel means that Rosh Hashanah was on the 3rd day of the week, Tuesday. Chaf means it's a regular year with 29, 30, 29, 30, with Cheshvan and Kislev being normal. And Zayin, meaning that Pesach is on Zayin on the 7th day of the week on a Shabbat. So every year has a category, and from that, you know what the years are. Now, one final thing, all the rules for fixing the calendar are set out in Rambam, in Mishnah Torah, Hilchot Kiddush HaChodesh. You can look it up yourself. All the mathematical formula are in there. So it's quite, if you're interested in that kind of thing, it's all set out there. And there's one final note. We wish people Ad Me'ava Esrim, you know, this 120. We wish people that they should have a life 120 years. Question is, what do you mean 120 Jewish years, 120 solar years? What are we talking about? Because a Jewish year, 120 years, could range from 43,822 days to 43,855 days, depending on the categories of the days in the year. So basically, what we should wish people is they should live to 120 of the fullest, of the longest combination of years. Anyway, that's it. So I hope that hasn't bored you too much. If you want to ask me some questions, you can. If I can try and answer them, or Rabbi Lister can also answer them if need be. Otherwise,
Stephen.
Yeah.
First of all, congratulations. Only an actuary of your skills could present such a presentation. It was very, very good. A question: where does Lo Badu Pesach come into this?
Yeah, it's Lo Badu Pesach is the other mnemonic, which is the same as Lo Adu Rosh. It's the same thing. Because if Pesach is on a Monday, it will mean Rosh Hashanah will be on a Wednesday, which can't happen. If Pesach is on a Daled on a Wednesday, it means Rosh Hashanah is on a Friday, which is no good. And likewise, if Pesach is on a Friday, it means Rosh Hashanah is on a Sunday, which is no good. So basically, it's the same thing as Lo Adu Rosh, same thing, basically. But it's another mnemonic we use. Yeah. Okay.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, you can. I can try and answer as well.
First of all, can we ask Philip to mute himself, please, because it's very distracting.
I've used him for you there, right?
Thank you. Okay. The other thing is, when the witnesses came, and they, first of all, it seems they could come day or night, because in some of those calculations you had people saying, you know, if it's so many hours after midday, first of all, you'd have to be able to spot the molad during the daytime, which is a bit tricky, I would have thought. But also, if the witnesses came to the saying that the witnesses were scrutinized and they declared that day to be Rosh Chodesh, then they would only be able to light the beacons presumably at night, which means that the people wouldn't know about it until it's past the event. So how would that be resolved? Or was that actually not a problem at all?
I think Rabbi Lister can help me on this one. I think what they used to do is they started observing the. I think that the reason for the timing, I think, is to do with the sacrifices, because if that day was Rosh Chodesh, had to do a Musaf sacrifice. So that's why perhaps if it went beyond midday, they couldn't. It's too late to do this organized sacrifice. That's why they push things. I think that's right, Rabbi Lister. Maybe you can come in on this one. But I think they used to start observing Rosh Chodesh rules on the 30th day, assuming it's going to be Rosh Chodesh, and then once the Molad was declared, that they followed it. Is that right, Rabbi Lister?
I know the Gemara says that the concern was that one Rosh Hashanah, the Levim had sung the Yom Tov Shir Shayim, and then it was discovered that in fact there wasn't going to be Rosh Hashanah until the following day, so they got it wrong. That's when all this regulating the calendar came in, that they decreed these 2 days.
Right. So
that seemed, you'd have thought it would be the Korbanos, but in fact it seemed that the Shir Shayim was the one they really worried about.
I'm not sure that addressed the question. I mean, there were two questions really. One was, how can a witness come during the daytime, declaring they see the molad, if they would only have been able to see the molad the day before, and if they're delayed in their journey to Yerushalayim, then they won't actually get to see the Sanhedrin until late. They won't light the beacons till night. So it's all post facto. The molad was like the day before, or even 2 days before.
Well, I suppose I suppose if they came that late, then before they would have to have the how did it work? If they came too late, then they would have to. So if they saw the moon, they saw the new moon
at night time, they'd have to get to Jerusalem the following day, and if they're delayed, they won't get there till late. They'll light the bonfires that night, which is like a day after the molad.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. The idea of the bonfires is for the Chagim basically. It's the
That's
main
right.
message.
What
So
that is,
as long as they got the message by Pesach, they knew
Okay.
when.
that's
Yeah,
right. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And the thing is also the rabbis. I think the rabbis knew when the new month is. They knew the calculations. They knew when the new month is going to occur anyway. The witnesses are just confirming by sight what they knew by their mathematical calculations anyway. They knew when it's going to occur. But the witnesses had to go through the process.
Well,
So
they
the
could have
bonfires
fixed.
would have told people about whether the moon had been seen, and that means whether the previous month had been 29 or 30 days. So people could adjust their calendars accordingly. So
Yeah.
Pesach
Okay.
and Sukkot when they came.
So the trouble is, they didn't have computers in those days or iPhones with all this everything built in. You see, it's all done the old-fashioned way. It's quite a fascinating subject, actually, and it's amazing. The maths that the rabbis knew.
Rav Hirsch says that it's actually better to fix it by sight rather than by figures, because it means that we're participating in the fixing of dates with God, and he says that's better than just doing by maths.
Yeah.
So we hope we revert to this system.
I've got a book here, which you may see, called Rabbinical Mathematics and Astronomy. It's got all the formulae for all the setting the calendar, all the formulae for setting out the times, the zamanim in the days, etc. It's all amazing what maths they knew, these rabbis of old. The quite intricate, sort of complicated maths they knew to set all the calendar and everything. It's amazing. Arnie, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, we believe that the calendar set out by Hillel II works perfectly until about the year 6000, which is an amazing thing to have done.
Yeah.
And then what?
Well, then Mashiach will come, won't they? It will be sorted out, won't it?
That's what they say.
Yeah. Yeah. We won't be around to actually worry about that problem, I presume. So the next few generations after us will have that. I'm sure they'll sort something out by then. Carol's got his hand
An
up.
observation. Many years ago, I sat through a similar talk that you just given, but not nearly as learned as yours. And he finished by saying, everybody thinks there are 7 wonders of the world. In fact, there are 8. And the last one is the Jewish calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is quite an amazing calendar. Yeah. Okay. On that note, I think we'll leave you for today. Next week we've got in the midst of all your Pesach preparations, Rabbi Lister will give us some inspiration to lead us into Pesach next Tuesday morning. Have a good day, everyone.
Okay. Well done,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Bye, everyone.